They didn't care about the turtle until the marine biologist arrived out of nowhere. There are beaches that glow with life, and beaches that quietly watch it slip away. Greywater Coast was the second kind tonight. The sun hung low, a molten orange, sinking into the horizon. The wind carried the faint smell of salt and seaweed. Seagulls cut harsh lines across the sky, their cries echoing like unanswered questions. Tourists were scattered across the sand, some taking selfies, some chasing the last light of the day, others walking barefoot along the shallows. But none of them noticed the shape lying motionless near the tide line. Not yet. A small sea turtle, no bigger than a child's backpack, struggled for breath. Fishing line bit deep into her neck. Her back shell was cracked, edges darkened with sand and dried blood. She tried lifting her head once, twice. It fell back with a soft thud each time. A teenager glanced at her and shrugged. A couple walked past, shaking their heads. "Is it dead?" someone asked. "Don't touch it," another replied. "Could be diseased. Just leave it. Leave it." That word floated through the heavy air like poison. The tide crept closer, the waves slapping harder, pulling at the turtle as if the ocean itself had lost patience. Still, no one stepped forward. A group of boys gathered nearby, holding skateboards. One of them nudged the turtle lightly with his shoe. "She's done for," he said. Another laughed under his breath. "No point. Let nature do its thing." Nature. As if this was nature's fault. A grandmother sitting on a folding chair whispered a prayer under her breath but didn't move closer. A jogger slowed down, looked, then picked up speed again. Everyone saw. No one cared enough to act. And then, a distant hum. At first it blended with the sound of the waves, but slowly the engine's tone sharpened, steady, controlled, purposeful. Heads turned. A black 4x4 Jeep rolled onto the sand, its tires moving with the confidence of someone who knew exactly what they were doing. The windows were tinted, the engine cut abruptly, leaving a sudden hush behind. A woman stepped out. She closed the door gently, as if trying not to disturb the air itself. Her hair was tied back, her boots leaving clean, sharp impressions in the sand. Sunglasses masked her expression, but her posture spoke louder than words. Focused, precise, locked in. She didn't look at the crowd. She didn't look at the sky. Her eyes, dark, steady, went straight to the turtle half buried in the sand. The boys with skateboards fell silent. A man holding a camera frowned. "Who's she?" The woman walked forward slowly, scanning the scene like she'd seen it 100 times, and hated it every time. When she finally reached the turtle, she knelt without hesitation. Her fingertips brushed the broken shell. Her jaw tightened. Just barely, but enough for the closest bystanders to notice. Someone muttered, "Let it be, lady. It's already dying." The woman didn't respond. Another voice chimed in, annoyed. "You're not supposed to interfere. Rangers will handle it." Still nothing. The wind pulled at her sleeves, whipping sand against her arms. But she stayed steady, as if anchored by something far deeper than rules or public opinion. She reached into her backpack. The crowd shifted uneasily. What is she doing? Is she allowed to touch it? She'll get fined. But she ignored them all. Her hands moved with calm urgency, gloves, trauma shears, sterile gauze. Every motion practiced, every movement controlled. The old woman in the folding chair leaned forward, whispering, "She knows what she's doing, I think." For the first time the stranger spoke, not to the crowd, but to the dying turtle. Her voice was low, steady, almost like a promise. "You're not alone, not tonight." A few people exchanged confused looks. The teenager scoffed. "You can't save it. It's pointless." The woman finally lifted her head, slowly, and looked directly at him through her sunglasses. Her words were soft, but they carried a weight that made the boy step back. "Pointless for you, not for her." The fishing line around the turtle's neck glinted, tight like a trap. The woman slid the trauma shears underneath with practiced precision. One sharp snip. The turtle gasped, a shuddering, desperate inhalation. Gasps erupted from the crowd. That thing moved. She's still alive. Hang on, what's happening? The woman didn't break focus. She lifted the turtle's cracked shell gently, assessing the damage, her fingers tracing the impact point like she could read its story. Someone shouted, "Lady, stop! You'll make it worse." Another yelled from behind, "You can't just play rescuer. Do you even know what you're doing?" She paused, stood up, and slowly removed her sunglasses. Her eyes were calm, sharp, unshakable. "I know exactly what I'm doing," she said. A murmur rippled through the crowd, but before anyone could question further, a voice from the back shouted, "Wait, is that her? No way, that can't be." A younger woman hurried forward, breathless. "I've seen her in a documentary. I think that's the marine biologist." The woman with the gloves didn't react. She simply returned to the turtle. The sun dipped lower, shadows stretching long across the sand. The tension thickened. Even the waves seemed to crash softer, as if watching. A man with a beach umbrella stepped forward, irritated. "Look, lady, you can't just take charge here. Where's your permission? Do you work with the wildlife department or something?" She lifted her chin. Her voice was steady, but something beneath it carried the quiet authority of someone used to chaos. "Yes, I do." She reached into her jacket pocket and revealed a small, weathered badge. The metal caught the last light of dusk. There was a collective inhale. Someone whispered, trembling, "Oh my God, she's official." But not just official. The badge wasn't local. It wasn't state-issued. It belonged to a specialized coastal emergency unit few people even knew existed. And printed beneath her name was a call sign. 2 words that made the closest onlookers freeze where they stood. The beach fell completely silent. Even the boys holding skateboards lowered them slowly. The marine biologist slipped the badge away and returned her attention to the injured turtle, but now the crowd watched her with a stunned, uneasy awe. And this was only the beginning, because the real danger, the real conflict, was still approaching with the tide. The tide began to rise fast, too fast. Breaker 6 felt the cold surge soaking her knees as she stabilized the turtle's shell. The crowd shuffled backward, unsure whether to help or flee. A teenager shouted, "Hey, the water's coming in too hard. You're going to lose it." But she didn't flinch. "Everyone step back," she ordered calmly. "Give her space, or we're out of time." Her voice had changed, sharper, commanding, the voice of someone who had pulled lives, human and animal, from death before. She slid both hands beneath the turtle. The creature trembled, flippers twitching like thin, fragile leaves. "She's going into shock," Breaker 6 whispered. "Not now. Come on, girl, not now." A woman from the back called out nervously, "Is there anything we can do?" Breaker 6 hesitated, then nodded once. "Yes, you, blue shirt, hold that flashlight. You, pink hat, bring dry sand, gently. You, kid with the skateboard, kneel here and steady this side of the shell." The same boy who mocked the turtle earlier froze. "Me?" "Yes," she said, locking eyes with him. "Right now she needs you." He swallowed, dropped to his knees and steadied the cracked shell with trembling hands. The transformation in the crowd was instant. Where there once was mocking and fear, now there was urgency, purpose, humanity waking up. Breaker 6 wrapped the turtle in cloth, lifted her with the boy's help, and moved her away from the rushing tide. Just then, sirens echoed from the dunes. Red lights flashed across the sand. The wildlife rescue unit. A beige truck skidded to a stop, doors flinging open. A tall man in uniform ran toward them. "Is she alive? We got the alert. Someone flagged your badge code." Breaker 6 nodded. "Cracked carapace, large impact, deep entanglement wounds. But she's fighting." The officer stared at her, recognition hitting him like a wave. "You're Breaker 6, he breathed. "I trained on one of your cases." But Breaker 6 ignored the praise. She looked only at the turtle. The officer dropped to his knees beside her. "What are your orders?" The crowd watched in stunned silence as she took command of the entire beach. "Stretcher, heat blankets, and saline, now." Her eyes flicked toward the audience. "And no sudden movements?" "She's terrified." 2 rescuers hurried over with gear. A stretcher opened with a metallic snap. Breaker 6 lifted the turtle with practiced delicacy. "Easy, easy, sweetheart. You're safe." For the first time, the turtle lifted her head just a few inches and exhaled a weak, shaky breath. Gasps rippled through the crowd. "She's responding. She's actually fighting. She just needed someone." Breaker 6 smiled faintly, a rare, soft curve of relief. The officer stepped forward. "We can take her to the Marine Rehab Center. They have full surgical equipment." Breaker 6 stayed quiet for a moment, brushing sand gently off the turtle's shell. "Good," she said. "She has a chance." The men loaded the stretcher into the rescue truck. The back doors slammed shut. Before Breaker 6 followed them, the teenage boy called out, voice breaking slightly. "Will she make it?" Breaker 6 turned. Her face carried exhaustion, but also the fierce steadiness of someone who had seen miracles in broken places. "She will," she said. "Because today, you didn't walk away." The boy lowered his head, tears shimmering in his lashes. The crowd watched silently as the rescue truck pulled off the beach, engine rumbling into the darkening evening. Breaker 6 paused by her jeep. The wind tugged gently at her hair. Someone whispered, "Why did you stop? Why did you come here at all?" Breaker 6 looked out toward the blackening ocean. Her answer was quiet, but it echoed loud enough for every soul on that beach to feel it. Because a life was fading, and no one else listened. Then she climbed into her jeep, turned the engine, and disappeared into the night, leaving the beach forever changed. Compassion isn't measured by strength, status, or knowledge. It's measured by the moments when we choose to stop and help a life that can't ask for help.